Hi loves. Today's practice is for those days where we know we need to move our body. Maybe you've been sitting for a long time or you haven't moved in a few days, but you don't really have the energy to do a super strong practice. I like to think of this as like the practice that you do on the days you don't want to practice. And remember, practice, we're talking physical here, right? Practice is many things. So you will need a ton of props, and if you don't have these specific props, you just have to get creative. Ideally a bolster, 2 blocks, a strap, and 2 blankets. And we're gonna begin in child's pose here, but a supported version of child. So any way you can, you wanna have an elevated like slant in front of you. We're gonna put our forehead on the bolster. I'm separating my knees a little bit wider than the bolster, and then as I lay down, sliding my hands underneath, and you just give it a nice big hug. Hopefully I'm not smushing the microphone, and if I am, you can pause it or mute it or skip ahead. You're always welcome to put your forehead down and put a blanket as well. Really get creative. You know, the thing with restoratives is that it is just so personal. Just like regular support, right? The support that I need is very different than the support you will need, or that my partner needs, or even my 2 children need. And a nice part of the restorative practice is really identifying what support do you need. So if you need to come out and readjust, maybe put a blanket underneath you, under the forehead, or maybe you want to lower the blocks all the way. Take that moment, that time to explore, settle in, and then arrive. If you're feeling supported enough to do so, maybe close the eyes or just letting them cross gently. So there is no effort from the sense organs. This is truly a practice of receptivity. And we'll take a full breath in. Exhale through the mouth. Notice what softens. Adjust as you need to. I'm just going to fold mine up a little bit so my nose is not smushed into the bolster. We got a couple more breaths here. Make it as yummy as you need. This is part of the learning process, right? It's that we don't always get it the first time, and it's okay to adjust. It's okay to make alterations, to ask for things differently when we realize what we truly need. And from here, we'll very slowly roll up to sitting. So use your fingertips, kind of round the spine, drop the chin into the chest. Very slowly arise all the way up. We'll set our props aside for now. They'll come back pretty soon, so don't have them too far. And then let's prepare for cat and cow. So coming into hands and knees, wrist under shoulders, knees below hips. As you inhale, arch the spine, lift the chest up and through. That metronome of the breath. Exhale, and we round. Inhale to arch, and exhale to round. Notice that we are not propped in the same way. I mean, we do have the floor and the mat beneath us. Keep going a few more rounds, but that the support changes to the limbs, to the foundation, to what is upon the floor. So really use that. Anchor the palms on the inhale, almost like you want to drag your hands towards your knees. Exhale, press tops of feet, top shins, and hands to round. 2 more. So in essence, supporting ourselves. And last one. Exhale, round. Let's come on back to a neutral spine. So support is not always fun and games as far as like being fluffed up on blankets and props and pillows. Curl the toes under. Sometimes support is an internal experience. Lift the knees, hover the shins off of the floor, and deep breathing. In this case, it's starting to engage the transverse abdominis. That's our deepest abdominals. And they act like a corset supporting the spine. They work in conjunction with the pelvic floor. It wraps around us, and it's not something that actually creates movement in the torso. So to engage it, we have to do things where we're keeping the trunk steady, like curling the toes and hovering the knees. or coughing or laughing. All very supportive endeavors. And then keep the heels reaching back, keep the bum reaching back. That'll help to release the tops of the thighs, the hip flexors. Slide the shoulders down the back, reach the crown of the head forward. And maybe there's something internally supportive that you can say to yourself as we hold for a final breath. Lowering the knees. Walk the hands forward an inch, curl toes, lift hips. Let's come on into downward facing dog. And pedal out the legs if you need to clear the space of all the props. Whatever is going to feel like the most nourishing downward dog for you right now. And that's different for all of us. Maybe yours is completely dynamic the whole time. Pedal, pedal, or you want to take your feet wider, or you want to take the shoulders, the hands wider so you have a little more space in the shoulders. What is the most nourishing for you? I want you to explore. No, you're not going to get the right answer right away. That's why we explore. And then when you find it, then you hold and breathe. Meeting in the back of the mat in Uttanasana, feet hips wide or a little wider. Walk the hands all the way back slowly. Inhale, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, we're going to fold. Just grab your elbows and drop your head. And then it's often nice to bend the knees, especially this early in practice, but especially on those days where we don't really feel like efforting much. I don't know why, but it creates that ragdoll spine. There's just a sense of surrender all the way from the tailbone to the nape of the neck. Very different than when we're like trying to get into our deepest bend. So whatever you need to surrender, whatever you need to release and drop. Speaking of, let's drop the arms. Go ahead, switch the cross. So the other elbow on top. And not to say you can't straighten your legs. Some of you will start to firm the legs a little straighter. Maybe for you, that's what you need for length and space. It's finding the freedom within the choices. And we'll release the arms, release the head fully. It probably could drop an inch or two more. Rolling to standing slow. Keep a tiny bend in the knees as you stack your spine, one vertebrae at a time. And once the rib cage is above the sacrum and the head is above the ribs, come up to the top of the mat. Stand in any comfortable position. So the feet can be apart, the feet can be together. We'll release the arms. Big inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, reach the chest. You know you're starting to relax when the animals come. Exhale, fold again, drop the head. It's like they want to be near you. Inhale and rise. Free the arms out. If you've got the room, really take up space and pull the hands to the heart. Once again, inhale the arms up. Exhale and folding. Inhale, reach the chest forward halfway. Same thing with this half salute. Exhale, fold again. Inhale and stand all the way up. Bring the hands to prayer and just notice if things are starting to shift a little bit. They do for me often at this point. Inhale the arms up. Something about those dynamic flows. Exhale and folding. Inhale, reach the chest forward. Let's grab our two blocks. Exhale, step the left foot all the way back. Hands are on the block, so you have a little more height here. And then on an inhale, arch the spine like you did in cow breath. So a little bit like booty in the air, chest is lifting. It's not going to be a huge movement, but you're going for that back bend shape, that spinal extension. And then exhale, and you'll let your front leg straighten a little round the spine. So we're not fully straightening, but just enough that you can feel the curve of the tailbone. Draw the chin towards the chest. Do it one more time. Inhaling, sink the back thigh down. Let the hips be heavy, heart up. Exhaling, rounding the spine, a little more straight in the front leg just so that you can access the right sit bone pulling under, meeting in a neutral spine, meaning that we're balanced on all sides. Move the blocks and step to downward facing dog. From here, inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, step the right foot between the hands and the left foot up as far as you can get it. If it doesn't get there, don't worry. Ardha Uttanasana, big inhale. Exhale and fold. All right, hands on blocks again, switching to the other side. So now standing on the left foot, pick the right leg up, step it way back. Landing light, same flow. When you inhale and arch the spine, do stick your bum up. It's gonna feel like it kind of pulls you out of alignment in the legs. Don't worry about the legs so much right now. Can you find mobility in the spine? Exhale, round motility. And then 2 more like that. And in moving with breathing, like a little exfoliation process, right? Just shedding all the layers that get sticky along the vertebrae. Meeting in a neutral position once more, chest forward, move the blocks, step directly to downward dog. From here on an inhale, lift your left leg up. Exhale, we'll step the left foot forward, right foot up to the top. Inhaling, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Hands to heart. Let's take 1 round Surya Namaskara A together. Inhale, arms up. You can always take more or less. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chest forward. Step back and lower or hop, whatever you're doing for your vinyasa. Inhaling, your version of a back bend. It can be up dog. I'm going to stick with my toes curled and my thighs up today. Pass through plank and then all the way back to downward dog. Couple breaths here. Firm the legs up. So whether the heels get to the floor or not, irrelevant. Whether the legs straighten or not, irrelevant. As a matter of fact, let's all bend the knees for a second. Keep the heels lifted and then reach your spine even longer. Take a full breath in. Exhaling, bend the knees. You can walk, step, hop. Find your way to the top of the mat. Ardha Uttanasana. Look forward. Exhale, we fold. Head is heavy. Rising, inhale all the way up. Hands to the heart. All right, take a wide step. I'm probably facing the computer or whatever direction you need to. Separate your feet about 3 or 4 feet apart, just a nice comfortable distance. Reach the arms out to the sides and bring the hands to the hips. Blocks are nearby. Lifting the chest up, Prasarita Padottanasana A. Exhale, fold forward at the hip crease. And even as we're folding, we're lengthening the spine, lengthening. I mean, that's ultimately the most important part. Now, if you happen to have a little top knot, you can press that into your block. It can become part of your restorative practice. If you get the crown of the head to the floor, great. If you're not even close, don't worry. Reach the chest forward. It's that directional cue, exhale, fold, of aiming the crown of the head down into something. And then the shoulders are going to want to droop towards it. Lift the shoulders up. Press down into the top of the head. Lift through the center of the thighs. Even almost like you're trying to lift your bum up just a little bit. And then on the exhale, see if you can fold a little deeper. Wrists are under the shoulders, elbows and wrists stack. And breathe. From here, we'll very slowly walk the hands under the shoulders. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, bring the hands onto the hips. Stand up. Stay facing the center of your mat. Turn your right leg out. Let's keep this length of a distance. So really, really long here. Block if you need it. Arms wide for Trikonasana. Angle the back foot in, heel to heel. Inhale, reach through the right arm, taking the hand onto the block. And we're still in our theme of being supportive. So even though we're getting into these kind of more active sequences and shapes, it's all about the choices you get to make, right? We don't need to reach the hand to the floor. It doesn't need to be the shortest stance in the world. You could even be completely upright. What is more supportive for you? Sliding the shoulders down the back, turning the chest up towards the ceiling. That is the practice. It's being able to answer that question, not how to do some shape. Taking one more breath. If it feels good, let the top arm start to fall behind you. Little baby back bend. Exhale, draw your front ribs in, hand to hip. We'll stand up on the inhale. Parallel the feet and switch sides. And I'm a big fan of doing things differently side to side. So turn your back foot in, heel to heel, left leg turns out. Reach through the left arm. If you find coming into this, oh, I actually want to go a little shorter on this side or a little longer, whatever you need is the right answer. Top arm reaches, couple breaths to get adjusted, to settle in. It should be movable. It's like when you knock something off center and then it slowly lands where it needs to be. Wrap the back hip forward, that front hip back, reach through the crown of the head. And then if you'd like, letting the top arm fall open, just a little length for the pecs, the chest muscles. Also this kind of symbol of receiving. This is our theme today. Pressing the feet, inhale, rise all the way up, parallel the feet. Heel toe the feet a little closer, step or hop, meet me at the top. One last vinyasa before we hit the floor here. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Just as a reminder, though vinyasa has become to mean chaturanga, up dog, downward dog, reach your chest, vinyasa really means to place in a special way. So, however you want to get back to your down dog, you can step directly there. You can come to plank, knees down, lower. It's about being intentional in your transitions. And we meet together in the downward dog. Take one full breath. Exhale. All right, come on down. Down onto the knees. For this first one, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, which is a supported bridge, you're going to want some type of either blankets or a bolster so that it's fairly thin as far as the thickness. And that's going to go down the center of the mat, and then having a block near the top of the mat. Sit on the bolster, so you're right on the edge of the bolster, lay down, and then just notice, right, my head is like off and free. We're going to slide backwards, and that's really the key here. Hold the bolster, hold the blankets, whatever you have underneath you. Slide yourself back as best you can. So the muscles of the neck, the trapezius, all of that starts to release away from the ears. We're going to stretch the legs out to straight. You may need to get creative to figure out where your block is. And then having the legs as close together as you can, or maybe tether it with a strap if they feel like they're flopping open. Ideally, there's no tension in the lower back here. If there is, consider taking your legs up higher, even using a wall, or simply bend the knees with the feet on the floor. And we are going to be here. We are going to breathe here. Adjust, settle, like that little weeble wobble, finding your balance. And in the space, the silence, that's where you start to sense, am I answering the call? Or am I ignoring what I truly need? I am very good at ignoring what I truly need and barreling forward. But in the vinyasas, or all that movement-based practice we did a second ago, I could sense a little resistance in my body, a little heaviness. Where here, the moment I get still, it's as though every cell in my body can exhale. So what is your experience? It could be the same, it could be totally different. No right or wrong. When do you feel like it's just one big exhale? And you can always cover the eyes. You may need to readjust as we get in. The legs do fall open a little bit. You'll notice the thighs rolling out. That's just the natural position of the thigh bone and the pelvis. Allow it. The feet may even get a little chilly. You can grab some socks. Let's take one last breath cycle here. All right, that's coming out. First, bend the knees, place the feet on the floor if they're not already, and in absolutely no rush. Roll to a side. Don't forget you are on a little bit of a ledge here, so use your opposite hand to brace as you roll. Press up to sitting. Try to let the head be the last thing to come up, so even the transitions are intentional. Let's prepare for supta, baddha konasana. Supta simply means to lie down. So if you hear that, when you hear yoga poses like we just did, or we didn't do it, but when we do things like supta virasana, then just know that just means to lie down. And then we'll take the strap around. I've decided to keep all bloopers in here because it's like I'm a human and you're a human and we're all human, and it's okay to mess up once in a while. We did not do another supta pose, but this is our first one, supta, baddha konasana. So we're taking the strap around us, looping the strap. It should be a nice long distance. I like to have the end of the strap up towards me, like meaning I can pull it up with my right hand or my left hand as opposed to it being down. Soles of the feet together. The difference here is that we're actually sitting in front of the bolster. I put a blanket at the top of mine for an extra pillow. You need to do you. Lay down just as a test at first. Remember, it's not perfect right away. Nothing is. And that's why we call this a practice. The practice is the practice. And then as you lie down, just notice how things are feeling. You could be like, and completely melt. I'm going to be fully honest that my inner thighs are extra tight since birthing my second son. So I'm going to use even more support here with 2 blocks underneath my thigh and calf. And then you know when you've arrived, if you just absolutely load this posture, try to keep the upper body and release the legs. And then adjust the strap as needed so the heels pull in. The bottom of the strap is along your lower back. And then the arms can fall wherever they need to. That little roll of the head, the weeble wobble coming to balance. What are the experiences, the people, the things, all of the aspects of your life that feel like a big exhale? And it's quite remarkable how much the body tells us when we are willing to listen. And those of us that are highly anxious naturally, how braced we are usually. These restoratives, these supported shapes, allowing us to release maybe for the first time today, or all week, or all year. Licking the lips if they get a little dry. And make sure the head is heavy too. Sometimes we're in these poses with the head lifted, like we're about to get up any second. Let the brain sink towards the back of the skull. Imagine that. And if this was the pose that you got into when you were just like, maybe you pause and you stay a little longer. Otherwise, we are going to move on. So adjust the strap first, lengthen it out a little bit, step one foot out and then the next. Pause with both legs straight. Be here as long as you need. If there are blocks by your sides, I'd move them off. Bend the knees and roll over to a side. And then come on up to sit. I'm just going to turn to face you for this next one. The next one, we're going to have to get a little bit creative as far as height because it's totally personal. But we're going to do a supported Upavishta Konasana. Supported Upavishta Konasana, which is the wide-legged straddle. So separate the feet as wide as you can. For some of us, they're going to need to be quite close. The knees will be bent. That's fine. For others of you, they'll be out to the sides. It's not about efforting. It's just about finding that right amount of space so that you have length for your spine to fold. And then we're going to take a bolster, blanket, whatever, pile it up as high as you can. I like to take one blanket, one bolster, and then a second blanket folded over another block. So that gives me even more height. And when we fold, notice how, normally in this practice, or in the classical shape rather, there is no normal in yoga. In the classical shape, there is that lengthened spine. In this more restorative version, we're going to allow a rounding. So maybe take an inhale first in the lengthened spine, and then exhale, bow your head. Forehead rests where it comfortably can. Arms in any position that feels good to you. You can even let your legs kind of roll as they need to. I notice my legs do very different things here. The key is not to have the shoulders above the neck and the head, but to have them cascading down like a waterfall, releasing from each ear. And those hard blocks that we tend to wear unknowingly, simply melting like mud turning back into soft soil as it dries and aerates. And especially since the bolster, if you're using it, is pressing into the diaphragm, take big breaths along the back ribs. So that diaphragmatic band runs along the center of the rib cage. And it is an umbrella-shaped muscle that opens wide and contracts. Every inhale, widening, pulling air into the lungs. Every exhale, contracting up like a little umbrella. I think something really cool to pay attention to as we're here for these last few breaths is also what thoughts make your body brace. And coming back to that intention of softening and letting go. So remember, you're on your own path. Stay here as long as you need. If you're moving with us, I know these shorter practices go by so fast. Roll up to sit. That's why you do this at home, so you can pause and stay. Unroll your blankets. We're going to use everything for our final pose, shavasana. We're going to do this prone on the tummy. So if you have any kind of like claustrophobia, or it's very difficult for you to be face down for any reason, I want you to take whatever posture felt good for you. Any of the poses we did before, maybe any pose that you can think of, even sitting, right? One blanket's going to be at the front of the mat and folded. That's going to be for the forehead, so high enough that the nose has space. And then another blanket is going to be rolled towards the back of the mat, and this is going to go underneath the fronts of the ankles. The bolster or towels or whatever you have that you're working with goes in front, and just notice that there's a little bit of space in between the blanket to the bolster and the bolster to the back blanket. And then we are going to come onto our tummy. So we're going to place the bolster at the bottom rib cage. Bottom rib cage, blanket goes underneath the forehead. That second blanket, the roll is right at the ankles. And you should be able to plop open. If it doesn't feel ploppy, if it feels like you're going to teeter side to side, consider doing a lower bolster, or consider you can have your legs a little bit wider, but it should feel nice and supported so that you can just melt. There is a phenomenal teacher based in the UK named Naomi Anand. She is the author of Yoga and Motherhood.
And she often references the body. Sometimes it's almost like it's ice in those spots that we're hard in. And we get to observe in these restorative and more yin style practices, or yoga nidras, she teaches the ice softening to water. And then this being our shavasana practice, that water becoming almost like a mist, blending with the props beneath us, the floor, the environs. And just breathe into the tummy. Breathe into the spaces that are around where the body is pressing into the bolster. So it's like you could inflate into your sides. You could inflate into the back ribs a little more. The forehead on the blanket, representative of even our thoughts being supported now by our awareness, our intention. And as always, please feel free to remain as long as you'd like. If you can do a full 7 minutes, fantastic. If you need to start moving with us, take your time. So coming out slowly, slide the hands underneath the shoulders, press back onto your knees, press towards a child's pose, probably moving that back blanket out of the way. Knees apart, stretch the arms out. You can put something under your forehead, just get creative. It's not meant to be active. It's simply a transition. Maybe take one more cat-cow or two with wide knees. Let it feel yummy. And then we'll come to sitting on our shins, taking a moment to just check in with the whole body. Yes, the physical experience. But do you also noticing a softening that's even deeper than that? So yes, okay, the shoulders release down, but how does that change the quality of your thoughts? And yes, okay, maybe the forehead is a little more droopy, or the muscles around the eyes a little softer, but how does that change the intensity of your energy? Remember, there's going to be many days that we don't want to move our body, but we know it is for the better, and those are the days, well, every day, but those are especially days that it is important to make choices that are nourishing, supportive, and kind. But of course, every day should be that. Thank you all so much. If you don't already know, my book, The Yoga of Parenting, is due out summer 2023 through Shambhala. I am so grateful to all of you. I'm really enjoying making these, so go ahead and leave in the comments or find me on social, Sarah-Ezrin Yoga, and let me know what kind of content you want to see. Your donations are unexpected and just so wonderful, so thank you so much for all of that. I can send you my Venmo, whatever. I'm just really grateful to be here and happy to share all of this amazingness with all of you. You are why I'm here. Thank you.